So recently I got a post in my art channel on my Discord, link in description, by HiveDrawer with an update on the Silksong map that he made, presumably. And I was like, wow, that is so beautiful. Because if you didn't know, I'm kind of like obsessed with maps in video games. I don't know why, this might be a weird meeting. But yeah, I always adored the map of Hollow Knight, and I always really love seeing creations like this. However, HiveDrawer is definitely not the only person that tried to make a map out of Silksong. In fact, there are actually many attempts here trying to make a map of Silksong. And remember, we pretty much only have those 2 trailers and a few screenshots here and there. And somehow, people like HiveDrawer are able to make this gigantic looking, almost finished piece of art, as if the game has already been there since 2019 or something. So that gave me inspiration to make this interesting video. What will the Silksong map look like? And I'm not talking about art style or, you know, like anything like that, because that could just be anything. But more in the sense of like, how will the areas tie in with each other? How will the layout look? Pretty much, what will the world look like with a map? So I wanted to go through a bunch of fan-created maps here and talk about what we've seen with actual Silksong footage and how people have created that into their own maps. But I'm curious how close the fans actually got to creating this, because again, remember, we only have those 2 trailers. Like, nobody told them that the Clover Grove should be here on the left, or the Ant Warren should be here all the way at the right, the Coral Forest at the top. Like, this is all pretty much speculation. And also, if you hear some meowing in the background sometimes, I'm sorry about that. My cat is getting into puberty, so you know how the deal is. So what is a better way to start than just to start with this map that HiveDrawer sent me here? Because this is a very solid start here. First of all, I just want to say it looks really well made with the style of the OG Hollow Knight map, with like the colored rooms per area, but not like anything remarkable drawn in the rooms. Just like some big structures like here. This is the town in Moss Grotto, and then maybe some platforming here, just like how they did it in Hollow Knight. But what I do know is, and I think Greg confirmed this, is that the map is not gonna look like this art style again, but probably way more detailed, because the map in Hollow Knight was sort of a late addition just to throw it in there, and it didn't have much work put into it because the budget wasn't really there. But still, the map looked fire in Hollow Knight. But that means the Silksong map will probably be way more detailed and expansive and whatever. So all the fan creations you're gonna see here are, you know, in the style of Hollow Knight, but that's definitely not gonna be it in Silksong. So I do wonder what they will improve on the map. I think mostly how they color it in, that they have way more coloring details. But otherwise, I don't really know how much you could actually improve the map they had in Hollow Knight, because I think what Hollow Knight had is already pretty much everything you need for a map. Anyway, let's start off here with the HiveDrawer map. What I always find interesting is that pretty much everyone always draws it in the same layout, sort of. And what I mean by that is Moss Grotto and Clover area here at the left, then Deep Docks here at the right, then the Bone Bottom here sort of at the bottom, Greymore in the middle, and then the Citadel at the top. So let's look at a random map here, for example. Like Moss Grotto here, Clover area here, Bone Bottom here, Deep Docks is a little more down here, and again the Reef at the top here. So a lot of people are going for that same structure, which to me is very curious, because who decided that Moss Grotto is going to be at the left here? I get where they are coming from, because the Silksong trailer shows this first cutscene here, where they walk from the left to the right, and then Hornet drops down this bridge here, and thus people made it so that that area you see in the cutscene is like right here. This is the bridge part at the left side, and then they fall down all the way to the Moss Grotto here. But like, it could also just be at the right, or at the top, or at the bottom, or lower down. But somehow people always seem to start here. So Moss Grotto here is pretty much completely accurate, because we have seen the entirety of the beginning Moss Grotto in the demo gameplay. You start off here, falling down, you go left, you go right, you go up and you go left here. This is where you fight the first boss, Moss Mother. Then you go up here, and I see the guy, and then you faint. That's all you pretty much really know for sure. I don't know if this is confirmed, the little house that connects to this, and that this city that we've seen in some footage with the monster attacking it, that it's next to the crater. I don't know if that is confirmed, but that seems to be a very solid guess, because, you know, it's a very open area. And somebody even made the map of the Moss Grotto stitched together here. Now, what I find curious is that the HiveDrawer draws this Clover Grove super huge. Like, one of the biggest areas here on the map, which to me is a little weird because I might be a doubter here, guys, but I feel like the clover area is gonna be pretty much nothing, pretty much a few rooms only. I could be wrong on that, of course, but yeah, we haven't seen much of that area besides this screenshot of the Edge magazine here, and I mean, it does look really big. I get where that prediction is coming from, and then of course this part with the spinning bug, but that's pretty much it. And I feel like the Clover Grove is just gonna be part of the Moss Grotto. It would be weird to me if they made two separate huge areas that have a similar theming, like moss and clovers, like both are very green and stuff. And of course, there's nothing wrong for going for the same color palette for two huge areas. I don't know, it doesn't feel like something that Team Cherry would do. And I feel like the Clover Grove is sort of gonna be a sub-area to the Moss Grotto. Like the size of Soul Sanctum, pretty much, but nothing bigger. And yeah, this is just so cool to me how there's just such an expensive, elaborate map of rooms here, even though we've seen like only the 2 rooms of this place. Like, how did you think of all this? Anyway, then we have Deep Docks to the right here, which I find very curious. I don't think Deep Docks is going to be at the right here, but rather at the bottom of Moss Grotto. And that's just purely because there's lava. Like, I would think the lava area is going to be at the farthest possible place down. But I guess this also makes sense for this connection here with the clock tower, because the infrastructure of Deep Docks is very steampunky, I guess. So I think it does make sense that this is going to connect to the clock tower inside of the huge area Greymore. I mean, Hivedrawer has probably done way more research on this than I did. In fact, he did, because I did nothing. Maybe this is completely correct, but maybe it's hard. I think this might be correct. However, that this whole section with Moss Grotto and Deep Docks is going to have to be moved down. And then this barnacle area is going to be like somewhere else up here. So that the Deep Docks is basically the bottom of this bottom right corner here. And then I found this map here on Reddit, posted by this guy. This is what I imagine indeed. Moss Grotto and Deep Docks here being at the bottom. Also peculiar that they also put the barnacle area at the bottom here. Like, what did the trailer give you guys that made you think the barnacle area is at the bottom? I mean, I guess it fits a little bit with the bone forest here. Sort of same colory. But I feel like it fits more with the coral forest. That's like under the coral forest. Sort of as if the coral forest is like the beautiful top side. And then at the bottom side is the gross barnacle area. Sort of like a contrast between that. Then we also have the sealed crypt here. I don't even know what that is. How do you guys have more areas than I know of? This is also an interesting area. The far fields. This is supposed to be that sort of grassy but rocky area. It doesn't have any outstanding features that you can point out yet. Except for the Ant Canyon here. So this is definitely indeed going to be connected. This is definitely going to be a thing that Team Cherry is going to do. The part where you can see some ant enemies, it's going to be just like the Mantis Village probably. So just a small area inside of another area. And the clover area here, this is what I imagine more the clover area to be. I think it's gonna be even smaller than this maybe, but this size works. I think this is more realistic to happen. And here on the Hive map, the ant warren is like huge, but I'm guessing this is also combined with the wait, how did you guys call this? The far fields. Actually, that makes the most sense, as like an ant colony makes like a giant vertical maze system, so that you actually have to like climb your way up to the ant area. I think this is the more accurate ant area. This is probably that Colosseum with the pretty lady ants as a boss fight. So then we get to Greymore, the big fat middle part that we have seen a lot of rooms of, but it's like impossible to connect. We just know that it's gonna be the biggest area, just right in the smack dab in the middle, and that the clock tower seems to be one of the big towers in this area that will eventually lead to the Citadel. I have no clue how you guys connected this. If you know any information that I, well, seem to miss, let me know in the comments, But yeah, everyone seems to interpret the clock tower in Greymore leading to the Citadel. And then this one too, just a huge Greymore in the middle. Is this the clock tower in this one? I mean, there's a clock here, so I always find it very cool how you guys can think of this. I think, let me know if I'm wrong, but we're supposed to eventually get to the Citadel as the endpoint at the top. So that's why we all have the Citadel drawn here at the top, and then something here, ascent with Gorb. It's always really cool to see what everyone makes of the Citadel. And we also have the Gilded City, which I don't even know what that is supposed to be. I do know one thing, that town we see in the trailer, but like, I guess it's under the Shining Citadel. And then as for the Coral Forest being here at the top left, I definitely think this is going to be an area you get to way earlier. I feel like the Coral Forest should definitely not be here at the top. This is almost the very tippity top of the world. I feel like it should be maybe here. above the clover grove here, or bottom right here. I feel like it's definitely going to be an edge of the map. And then here the coral forest is at the right here. This I think is going to be more real. But still, I don't get why you guys put the barnacle enclave so low and separate of everything. Because I really feel like the barnacle area is going to be combined with the coral forest here. I feel like they would fit so well together. Because yeah, you have barnacle area here as well, all the way down here. I don't know what this purple area is. Let's look at a different map here. Ooh, now this one is interesting. By Juke the Box. Yeah, this is a very early one, 5 years ago. So this is not even with the second trailer. So you have the Moss Grotto, Clover Fields. Yeah, and you have the town in here with a big room. I feel like that's definitely going to be a thing. I mean, I don't know how they will deal with the crater if the town is like on both sides. And then to the right, entrance to the Bone Forest or Bone Bottom, whatever you want to call it. Proven by the fact that this village kind of looks like the Bone area already, but also part mossy, so it's like in transition. Then end area connected to this, and then this, the deep docks here. But then you go from the deep docks to Greymore via the clock tower. Now that is very interesting. So is the clock tower gonna bring you to Greymore, or is it going to bring you to the Citadel or Gilded City? Hard to tell, hard to tell. I feel like Gilded City / Shining Citadel is more viable since it has a lot of technology, steampunky stuff, which I feel like is more prominent in the Gilded City. But Deep Docks also has their fair share of machinery because you have a lot of doors to open and platforms. This could be very real. Oceanic Depths, I guess this is the barnacle area. Again, all the way separate from the coral forest. Please let me know why everyone thinks the barnacle area is so at the bottom. And then this is also interesting. You have an outside. So this is where the cutscene begins, right? So you go here, the Hornet falls down, but they wanted to bring you to the Gilded City in this entrance. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't get why the coral forest is connected to this though. I will stand by my point. Coral forest should be down here with barnacle area. We also here have the classic Among Us by Mossback. And this is exactly what I mean. I haven't looked at this map in a long time again, but yeah, I'm not the only one that thinks that. Coral forest above the barnacle area. And I know this is an Among Us meme joke, but he still tried to make sense of it. Yeah, I feel like these just should be together. Like, how are they not? Then also a cool zoomed out map in the style of Hollow Knight, as if you're looking at the areas, which I think plays the coral forest way better. I definitely feel like it should be here. Either at the left or at the right of Greymore. Somewhere around there. But yes, I think that will be it for the video. Please let me know all your predictions and information about what you think the map is going to look like. And you can also maybe talk about what features they might add to the whole map system here compared to Hollow Knight. Because that's also cool. It's really fun speculating. And I feel like we won't have to wait long. Now, this is the first time I'm actually sort of positive about Silksong releasing. I legit feel like this is going to be the year. Now this sounds like clown energy to you guys probably, but I've always been a doubter since the very start. I never believed it was going to release, and I was right every time so far. I feel like with this year, especially with Switch 2 releasing, even though I still feel like it's going to be on Switch 1. Maybe on both, actually. I really do feel like this is the year. Like 2025 it just feels good, you know? It just feels Silksong-y to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more Silksong speculation, I have a video talking about the towns you can watch. So yeah, you can click that or something. I don't know. I don't really care. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, subscribe.